SAFFA Radio bringing home to you.
SAFFA Radio bring huis tuis.
Only two males with red hair conquered this millennium. I'm not talking about the a-hole ex-Prince Harry, Ed Sheeran in music, and when it comes to rugby, there's only one. Legend of Hendrik Low, legend of Paul Roos, die WP, die Stormers, die Bokke, 83 toetse. Twee keer wêreldkampioen. Welcome to SAFFA Radio, Stephen Kitshoff.
No, thank you very much, Kevin. It's awesome to be here and just have a nice little chat.
When you were a young boy, did you see yourself as a Butch James or a Jean de Villiers, or was jy van die begin af, I'm going to be a prop?
I wouldn't say prop was my first choice. When I just started playing rugby at primary school, I remember the old Biliki rugby, so I was a big ball carrier, so I scored like a couple of tries per game. And then eventually when we got to positional play, my first position was eighth man. So a lot of the games revolved around me picking off the back of the scrum, gaining some momentum like that, and that's where the coaches saw me playing. So in my head, I was always a loose forward. I played loose forward up until beginning of high school, and then from there, when it came to under 13 Cravenviak and being selected into the Paul Roos system, I moved to front row.
You were in matric. You were invited to a Western Province practice. How did that happen, and how did it feel when you walked in there and here's the Western Province players looking at you?
Yeah, I was still busy writing matric exams, so I had like biology and a math paper left before the end of the school term, and got a phone call from Alistair Coetzee, and he asked me to come and join them in their preseason camp. So their preseason camps normally ran from like middle November up until middle December. And I got there, still writing exams, started training a little bit, and then it was like started the Monday, trained the Monday, Tuesday, the Wednesday I wasn't at training. I still had a paper to write. And some of the senior guys like asked the coaches, like, listen here, we couldn't have broken this kid within 2 days. And Alistair replied, no, he's just writing math. He'll be back this afternoon.
Right, so let's talk about it. 2012, you were part of the SA Under-20 team to win the World Cup. I know Pollard was in there, Jan Serfontein, Peter Steff. Any other of those guys who became Springboks?
Yeah, we had Dylan Lates was in there. We had Ollie Kebbel played for Scotland. Bram Steyn played for Italy. So we had a stacked team. Johan Goosen was also part of the group. He was just injured, unfortunately. So we had a very, very strong group, which was amazing. So for us, it's a guy like Paul Willemse played for the French over 50 times. So we had a very, very strong group, and a lot of those guys carried on playing rugby, made it quite far in their careers.
Who was your toughest opponent?
Yeah, and similar in the 2012 season, I fortunate enough to play a lot of games for the Stormers by then, and we played against the Crusaders in Cape Town at Newlands, and came off the bench that day, and yeah, and like packing down against a guy called Owen Frank. So I mean, legendary Crusaders pack from back then. They were just winning trophies left, right, and center. And as I engaged in the scrum, I felt quite solid for a couple of seconds before the ball got fed. And remember, this was before the time of the pre-bind, so this was still like crouch, touch, pause, engage. That was still the sequence. So there's no pre-bind. And I engaged, and I felt quite solid for about a couple of seconds. And then when the ball got fed, all of a sudden, it felt like I was on rollerblades, and I started going backwards. And the only thing that stopped me from going over the dead ball line was the upright post. So, yeah, it was a massive lesson to learn. And throughout the next couple of seasons, I came across him quite a few times. And if it wasn't just for Stormers, I started playing against him in the Springboks as well. And he's always been one of the toughest guys to scrum against. Locally and internationally, he was just such a beast. And then probably like from my own teammates, a guy like Frans Malherbe. Like he's just an exceptional scrummager, and I'm lucky enough to work with him on a weekly basis. So when we played for the box and I was either on the bench, he would start. I would have to scrum against him 10 to 15 times on a Wednesday, which is very tough.
Now, as a backline player, and a lot of us watching rugby, we look at the refs and we have our opinions, and then you have forwards and scrummagers, front rows, who knows better. Stephen Kitshoff, have you ever milked a penalty where a scrum went down and you go, man, I know it's my fault, but the ref gave it against the other opponents? Have you ever milked a penalty?
Yeah, I would say that's you won't call it milking. I would say it's the rub of the green. There's a couple of times that happened where like I felt like I was in the wrong and the ref maybe saw a different picture. But if you get the rub of the green or you get the milking works, I'll take it. I'll take it any day of the week. It's a penalty for our team. It's an opportunity to play in their half, get 3 points, or go and score a try. So yeah, I've done that before and I'll do it again if I get an opportunity.
What's your favorite ground you've ever played at?
I've always loved playing at like Twickenham. Twickenham's been a big, even as a kid, my dad always spoke about the legendary games between South Africa and England at Twickenham. So he's had fond memories and installed those memories in me. I think like playing at Eden Park has been magical. The one as a Westpac, the one in Wellington, where we had that famous victory against New Zealand. But probably in the last couple of years, a stadium like Greenpoint or Cape Town Stadium has been uh, has been my top stadium. Just not just because of it's my home ground or but it's the atmosphere around it, how Cape Town just becomes this incredible city to be part in, to be involved in, and then you watch a Springbok game or you watch a Stormers game. There's just an unbelievable great atmosphere around the stadium.
83 tests, 2 tries. If you had deja vu and you can replay one test, what was the best test that you thought you delivered?
It's a good question. I think there's the test match in Wellington, which we beat the All Blacks for the first time in many years. There's the two World Cup finals, which was amazing. There was the third test in where we played against the British Irish Lions. That was in front of a stadium with no people, and we had to win to win the series. Mine would actually be a game we played at Newlands, and we unfortunately lost that test match against the All Blacks in the last 5 minutes. But for me, it was probably one of my best rugby games or performances I've ever played. If it was with ball in hand, defensively, turnovers, scrummaging. Myself and Malcolm that day played like men on fire, and that was just probably one of the standout games for me that cemented me as a Springbok because it was my first game that I started in number one jersey. So every game before that I was always off the bench. And then that was the one game where Alistair gave me opportunity to play in the number one jersey, and I had to grab that opportunity with both hands, and somehow the stars aligned and everything, except the result of the game, but everything for me went well. And I just played one of my favorite games of all time.
It's common knowledge that there was a discussion who will start the test, wants to be there when the whistle go. And then we started talking of the bomb squad and the nuke squad. I want to know who came up with a bloody name and say, hey, we're not calling them subs or reserve. We call it the bomb squad. Who came up with the name?
There was back in 2019 or 2018, there was a fight between uh, uh, Fury and Wilder. There was a fight, and Anthony was it Anthony Wilder kept screaming in the build up in the press releases. He kept screaming the word bomb squad, and then like we kept watching this, and there was like a massive build up to this fight with Tyson Fury um, and Wilder. So when when we started going onto the field as a collective, like we started, Rassie didn't send like one guy at a time. He sent like the entire front row. He sent all the loose forwards or the entire pack at one stage. Franco Mossad actually kept screaming the word bomb squad, like like Wilder did. And then it stuck. And then we started calling ourselves in the media, like they spoke about like well done guys, the bench did exceptionally well. And then we would like speak in ourselves in third person. We would say like, yeah, the bomb squad did exceptionally well. And then it became like headlines. So that's the origin story of the name of how we got to call ourselves the bomb squad at the end of the day.
I'm going to let you put a selector's hat on. Rugby World Cup down under next year. Who would be your starting front row and who would be your front row on the bench, the bomb squad front row?
I think probably starting we'll go with Ox, Malcolm, and Vilkulo. And then on the bench, it's a tough one. But I would probably end up going with Gerard Steenekamp. I'll probably go Jan Hendrik Wessel at hooker, and then I'll probably go Thomas de Toy at tight head.
Springbok rugby, South African rugby is at a good spot. I mean, world champions, sevens champions, under 20 champions. A lot of the youngsters are actually playing URC rugby currently. Is there any youngster that you've looked at and go, man, this guy is going to become a Springbok legend?
I think a guy like Paul de Villiers, a guy like Riley Norton, who's captained the squad, is all standout rugby players. But a guy that, in my opinion, that's probably got the brightest future and relatively new to the game is a guy, Marcus Miller. Gimboy, currently playing his rugby at the Stormers. I think he's got a bright future. He's a very, very talented young man, and I think he's got his head on his shoulders. He's very sharp.
Talking about funny moments or sledging, I know cricket, especially the Aussies, love sledging. Is there talk in the front row in the dark arts when you go down in that scrum as people, especially when you were a youngster? Or did you do it to a youngster? Were there any sledging or any funny moments you can recall?
I was never a big talker in the scrums. Like I think I was too out of breath I was too tired to chat. But I know Ox has mentioned it a couple of times, and he's spoken on our podcast about it, where he's like he would talk to a guy mid scrum, and I found it quite fascinating to be able to first of all pull it off, and secondly think of things to say when you can't, when there's no blood flow to your brain. But there was when scrums go extremely well and we pounding teams and we're playing maybe against a Wales or England and there's opportunity to say something. I always felt like the right thing to say is like when you hit a guy and you've got him under pressure, is to actually try and encourage him to stay in the fight. To say, listen here, you hit him, you got him, he's on the back foot, and then you start the conversation going, listen here, but you're doing well, keep it up, keep it up. You're doing exceptionally well, and I felt that was always like the best way to get a guy to get under his skin and make him go off task. So.
Last rugby question, because South African school rugby is so interesting. You have Stellenberg beating top schools, Durbanville the last few years doing well. Your matric year were Paul Roos unbeaten. Did you beat the top dogs like Grey, Gim and Boyseye?
Yeah, we had a very good season. We unfortunately didn't go undefeated. We lost to Gim, a very close game in the last minute, and we lost to Grey. So Grey Bloem, and they at that stage they had Jan Goosen, Jan Serfontein, Driekus. They had a couple of star players at that stage, and we went down quite a hefty score, but yeah, we went down like 43-28 or something.
Let's just talk life after rugby. What is Stephen Kitshoff doing with himself except for playing golf?
No, I've been quite busy, which I'm very, very fortunate to be able to say, because I've really taken on a big role with the podcast in the podcasting space. I've I'm doing a bit of work for SuperSport on the broadcasting and punditry work. And then we've got the businesses. So we got Bomb Squad, which is it's becoming a global brand, which we are very proud of. And there's going to be opportunity probably late or next week where we're gonna launch some products in Australia. Gonna host some golf days. Gonna have some fun. So yeah, I've been very, very entrepreneurial in my thinking and just trying to get a couple of things off the ground. So, and that's keeping me very busy. So yeah, I'm very, very blessed at the moment.
Steven Kitshoff, ek wil vir jou sê baie dankie wat jy vir die Springbokke gedoen het en wat jy vir Suid-Afrika beteken het. Ons love julle, jy is 'n bloody legend en dankie dat jy tyd afgevat het om met ons te gesels hier op SAFFA Radio en ek kan nie wag om jou te ontmoet volgende weekie. Cheers.
Baie dankie.
SAFFA Radio bringing home to you.
SAFFA Radio bring huis tuis.